In preparation for the Cresselia vs Darkrai event, Pokemon Sleep is giving us a Psychic type week event where we can farm some extra Psychic type Pokemon because they're going to be more powerful during this event. In this video, I'm going to try and answer which area you should go to for this Psychic event. Welcome back to another Pokemon Sleep video, it's BroVinny here. Just to clarify, as it's often confused, Psychic type event doesn't mean you should use Psychic Pokemon. It means you're going to catch more Psychic Pokemon to help you build your team towards the next event, which will utilize more Psychic Pokemon. Shout out to Banana Tanks for this great summary infographic which you can find on my Discord. The Psychic type week starts on the 17th of March and it runs for 1 week. And all eyes will be on the Munna Musharna debut because if it's a berry specialist, it will be the first of its kind to cover Margot Berry type in this game. We don't yet know which specialty it is, but let me know what your guesses are. I'm really hoping it's a berry specialist because we're lacking coverage. Prior to Munna's release, our best coverage for Psychic type was either to use Espeon or Gardevoir with berry finding. Munna Musharna will be snoozing type Pokemon just like many other Psychic type Pokemon, and will be available in 3 areas from its release: Greengrass Isle, Lapis Lakeside, and Old Gold Power Plant. These are permanent locations, they're not event limited locations. During this event, for 1 session per day, you get an extra hungry Pokemon guaranteed. That means it's a good time to go to an area where you still have a lot of Pokemon that you want to hunt. But there are some areas I would probably avoid, which we'll cover in a moment. Other bonuses during this event, we are once again getting the Mini Candy Boost feature. Now, I've covered this feature many times before, so I'll just be brief. My recommendation, use the Candy Boost feature if you have an excess of Dream Shards and use it on Pokemon that you normally have low candy amounts for. So things that normally have rare spawn rates or your friends aren't sending those candies, or maybe a type of candy that is usually split among many different evolutions. For example, the evolutions if you've invested multiple of them, or the likes of Wooper also makes sense because while Wooper isn't extremely scarce in candies, if you've got both Paldean and regular Wooper both taking up the same lot of candies, that also makes sense to use the Candy Boost feature on. But a reminder is that it's best to use this feature when the Pokemon is low level. Just to give you an example, I have a shiny Quagsire with Mono Mushroom that I've invested to level 50, and I have a Paldean Wooper that is Mono Cacao that I haven't started investing yet. It makes a lot of sense for me to use the Mini Candy Boost feature on my Paldean Wooper to raise it from a low level because it'll just simply cost me less Dream Shards for the exact same amount of candies that I earn. But if you don't understand this part, just remember the lower the Pokemon level, the less it costs for Dream Shards to use this feature. During this event, Pokemon will spawn outside of their sleep types, meaning that even if you don't hit snoozing, thankfully there's a chance for Munna to spawn outside of snoozing, so in dozing, balance, or slumbering. And finally, there'll be a greater appearance rates for certain Pokemon. Which Pokemon? Well, the Psychic types. So that's Mr. Mime, Espeon, Gardevoir, and their evolutionary line. But Munna and Musharna will have an extra boosted rate, which is good news for me because I like to hunt new Pokemon. So this pretty much tells us which area you should or shouldn't go to for this event. My recommendation is to avoid Snowdrop Tundra at all costs, unless for some reason you don't care about Munna, you only want to catch things like Sneasel, and you want a chance for that hungry to land on the Sneasel, then it might make sense for you to go to Snowdrop Tundra. But besides that, the boosted spawn is Wynaut and Wobbuffet, not a typically preferred healer Pokemon, especially not so when Gardevoir does the same thing but better and more consistently. Probably avoid Type Holo as well because the only other thing you're getting is Espeon, although once again it could make sense to go to Type Holo if you're in a situation like me where I don't actually have an Espeon invested and my Eevee friendship level is above level 100. In other words, I can never get a perfect Espeon unless I catch it fully evolved while its friendship level is still low. So it could still make sense sense. Maybe the Hungry will land on an Espeon and then I'll catch a good one then. However, even then, I probably prefer to use Ampharos over Espeon long term anyway if I'm going to sink my main seeds into one of these charged Strength M specialists. Or maybe you want to go to Topolo to utilize that one extra Hungry per day on an Onix, so that could still make sense, but besides that, this is not the place to be. It would only make sense for you to hunt Mr. Mime if you don't have a good mono tomato option, but nowadays there's just so many options for tomato, I don't really see the value in hunting a Mr. Mime, although I am a fan of its recent update on its main skill where it copies another team member. As usual, I'd avoid Greengrass Isle just because of the amount of spawns there are, meaning whatever you're hunting for that's boosted will be relatively diluted. So if you're hunting for Munna, the place to be would be at Old Gold Power Plant, assuming that you've got a decent area bonus and you've got a decent team for that area, because I imagine the drowsy power requirement will be fairly high as it usually is with new releases. So if you can't achieve a high drowsy power, you may not see that many spawns. In fact, that's my preferred area for the Psychic type event. The choice for Lakeside also makes sense if you actually don't have a good Ralts, and if your team is reasonably strong for Lakeside compared to Old Gold Power Plant, or maybe you have a higher area bonus, it can make more sense to go to Lakeside. Although if you're just specifically hunting for Munna Mushana, you'll be a little bit more diluted by other boosted spawns like Espeon, Wynot, and Ralts. Although if you're a relatively new player, you haven't unlocked Lapis Lakeside or Old Gold Power Plant, maybe hunting Munna is only viable at Greengrass Isle. Thank you for watching, guys. Let me know what you guys think of this event and which specialty Munna is going to be. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.